This is your USMNT Abroad weekend update from January 26th to January 28th of 2024. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV, and welcome to the US Men's National Team Abroad series, where every single Monday we update you on how the Yanks did abroad over the weekend. And over the past few years, I have scouted Americans abroad more than any other US Men's National Team scouts. I have spied on them more than the CIA. I'm essentially a stalker. Mainly because of this US Men's National Team Abroad series. You know, it's sort of like that movie, Alice in Wonderland, when she gets sucked into the rabbit hole. Well, guess what? I got sucked into the US Men's National Team asshole, and I can't get out of it. And why am I talking about assholes? I think, you know what? I'm getting completely sidetracked here. Let's start the recap. As always, we're going to start with the clubs that play in the English Premier League. There were no Premier League matches this weekend. They played in the FA Cup, but you get the point. Those are the teams we're going to start with. And you are going to start by hitting the like button, because I forgot to ask you earlier. Let's try to hit 1,000 in this video. It really helps the channel with the YouTube algorithm. With that said, later in this video, I have an announcement / question for you. So if you're a diehard viewer of this channel, it is for you, and you might want to stick around. It'll probably be somewhere after the Bundesliga section. With that said, let's start with Matt Turner from Nottingham Forest. On Friday, Matt Turner started and went the full 90 minutes for Nottingham Forest during their 0-0 draw with Bristol City in the FA Cup. They still have the second leg to be played, and you may be wondering, how did Matt Turner do? And to that, I will tell you, he got a clean sheet, which is good, but he also had 0 saves, which is, it's not his fault if Bristol City can't hit the target. So I don't have much to compliment or criticize when it comes to his individual performance. But I do have bad news. As I said back in December, but many didn't believe me, ever since Nuno Espírito Santo took over Nottingham Forest, he has been seeking a new goalkeeper. It doesn't seem like he has much trust on Matt Turner, and now Fabrizio Romano himself has reported that they want to sign a new goalkeeper before this transfer window closes. And the name that he threw around was Peter Gulacsi, the goalkeeper that plays for Leipzig. It doesn't really seem like a deal has gone through, and it might not actually go through, but they're clearly seeking a goalkeeper because they don't want Turner starting. And understand, when I said this in December, I was right. My source was not wrong. And I'm not always right, but I'm also never wrong. At the time of this recording, Nottingham Forest has not signed a goalkeeper, but we'll know how it ends very soon because the transfer window closes this Thursday. Next up would have been Chris Richards from Crystal Palace, but there were no FA Cup matches for Crystal Palace this weekend because they have already been eliminated. So let's skip on Chris Richards and go to Austin Trusty from Sheffield United. On Saturday, Trusty started and played the full 90 minutes for Sheffield during their 5-2 loss to Brighton in the FA Cup. I didn't watch this match, even though I love watching Brighton. But I'll say this, if you're a center back and your defense leaked 5 goals, you probably didn't play well. But again, I didn't watch this game. Maybe Trusty did fine and Sheffield just isn't very good when compared to Brighton. But again, if you're a defender and your defense leaked 5 goals, that doesn't look good. Next up in England, we have A-Rob and Tim Ream from Fulham. And on Saturday, A-Rob and Ream both started and went the full 90 minutes for Sheffield during their 2-0 loss to Newcastle in the FA Cup. The good news here was that Tim Ream was finally back in the starting 11 for Fulham ever since he returned from injury. Fulham now faces Everton this Tuesday and Burnley next weekend, both for the English Premier League. So next Monday, I'll be able to provide you with a more accurate update on whether or not Tim Ream is actually still a starter for Fulham or if he lost his starting job after he got injured. One of those cases where time will tell. Now let's leave England and go to Italy to talk about the Americans that play in the Italian First Division, the Serie A. The first ones being Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musa from Milan. And on Saturday, Christian Pulisic started and played 87 minutes for Milan during their 2-2 draw with Bologna in the Serie A. Yunus Musa came off the bench around minute 59. And let me tell you, when it comes to sad and pathetic things in soccer, I have seen it all. I'm like that grumpy 90-year-old Brazilian grandpa that just hates everything and claims to have played with Pele, Garrincha, you know, like Master Yoda, but the exile version of Yoda from episodes 4, 5, and 6, but into soccer. Because I don't really know if Master Yoda was into soccer. He never really talked about it in any Star Wars movie. But I must say, what happened to Milan in this match wasn't the most pathetic thing I have ever seen, but it made my top 20 list. It was pretty pathetic. Milan managed to waste 2 penalty kicks throughout the match. One of them with the experienced Olivier Giroud, and the other penalty kick was wasted by Theo Hernandez. So sure, that is pathetic enough to waste 2 penalty kicks with 2 different players in the same match that ended up with a 2-2 draw. They probably should let Pulisic take penalty kicks from now on, but that's a little off topic because wait, it gets worse. Because you see, Milan conceded a late draw against Bologna, and they scored off, yes, you guessed it, a penalty kick. Bologna tied the game at the 92nd minute off a penalty kick after Milan wasted 2 of those. I don't know if this is even pathetic, it's just very sad. And the fact that Loftus-Cheek got a brace is also bizarre to me, even though he scored in the previous match as well. I don't know, there was something off about this game. There really was. But anyhow, how did the Americans do? Because that's what you're here for. Yunus Musa was fine off the bench. Nothing bad, nothing great. He played his role. He did fine, had a fine performance. As for Christian Pulisic, I thought he was very efficient and dangerous in specific moments. He probably should have had an assist. He had 2 great crosses where Milan players just couldn't finish. One of them was Rafael Leão. Pulisic also did get a hockey assist for Milan's first goal. He put a beautiful through ball to Calabria, so Calabria could put in the cross that would end up with Milan scoring. Essentially the pass before the assist. And look, if it was a normal sideways pass, I probably would not care to credit Pulisic for this hockey assist, but it was a brilliant ball to set up the cross, and I think it deserves some praise and recognition. Some people laugh at it being credited to a player, a hockey assist or a pre-assist, but I think it's sort of silly to ignore Pulisic's role in that goal. You can laugh all you want on the term hockey assist, but he literally set up the assist for that goal. It wasn't a sideways pass. It was a very good pass, so Calabria could get the cross in. Let's just put it this way. I'm going to put it into a story that might open your mind in case you disagree with me. Let's say you go out with your friends and you are the designated driver, and one of them gets with a beautiful girl. Sure, you don't get most of the credit, you might not even get any credit, but you should get some credit. You are the designated driver. Let's just call Pulisic the designated driver of this story, which is very often important, but also ignored. I would even argue the designated driver is the most important one. Probably not, but you get the point. I'm not great with analogies. Just with the pick story. When Pulisic was subbed out, Milan had a 2-1 lead and they conceded during added time. Pioli took out Pulisic and Rafael Leão to try to hold on to the 2-1 lead, and it obviously failed. We're done with the Americans that play in Milan. Let's go to the Americans that play in Turin for Juventus, and they are Weston McKennie and Tim Weah. On Saturday, McKennie started and played the full 90 minutes for Juventus during their 1-1 draw with Empoli in the Serie A. Weah came off the bench around minute 59 for Juventus. I thought McKennie played well once again. He stopped multiple counterattacks, good recovery, looked good on the ball, helped set up his teammates for goal-scoring opportunities, and was very good defensively, along with winning most of his 50-50 duels. When Juventus was building out of the back, you would notice that Weston McKennie would push high up the field and out wide, even though he was playing mainly as a central midfielder. Juventus got a red card earlier in the match with Milik halfway through the first half actually, which changed the dynamic of the game quite a bit. The only reason they didn't lose this one was because Empoli is not very good, and Allegri is a soccer terrorist with no shame that is willing to make things as scrappy as possible to get a result. But I'll tell you one thing, Allegri is slowly becoming my favorite soccer terrorist, if that makes any sense, now that Jose Mourinho is unemployed. I kind of hate watching Juventus play, but at the same time, I can't stop watching them play. And it almost feels like I want them to win 1-0. It's a weird feeling. Because you see, this Juve side is just built to grind out ugly wins, and they probably would have gotten an ugly win if they didn't get an early red card in the first half. As for Tim Weah, I thought he did fine in terms of his performance off the bench. I personally think he can compete with Cambiasso for that starting spot at the right wing back. and I would honestly start him, even though both players are similar levels, just different styles. And that's it for the Americans in Italy. And before we continue, drop a like in the video and a quick word from our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Their link is on the description. You can go play it if you like. I've been fairly successful with it, posting my picks on Twitter and Instagram, so you can check that out later, but we'll be back in 1 minute. And thank you, Underdog Fantasy, for sponsoring Tactical Manager TV. Underdog Fantasy is a fun game to play prior to any soccer match, or basketball, or football as well, but we don't talk about those two in Tactical Manager TV. Sometimes basketball during live watch-alongs. I have been playing Underdog Fantasy for over a year now. You can download the app by using the link on the description of this video, and you can also use the promo code TMTV. And Underdog will be matching your first deposit for up to $100. And in the process, you'll be helping the channel avoid bankruptcy. The game I mainly play is called Pick'em. You just click on it, scroll to the soccer section, and pick a player for a specific match and select the stats that you believe will be lower or higher. It's very easy to play, but be smart about your picks because it's not easy to win. I'll be playing some Underdog Fantasy during some match live streams or match live watch-alongs, so stay tuned for that, as I will be forced to cheer for a player or root against him. Now, I am a professional hater, so I'll probably be rooting for the player's downfall. Once again, don't forget to use the promo code TMTV and use the link on the description of this video. Thank you, Underdog Fantasy, for sponsoring the channel. Oh, hey, we're back. Now let's go to the Americans in the Bundesliga. And why don't we start with an American that might not be in the Bundesliga next weekend? And he is Giovanni Reyna from Borussia Dortmund. For now. On Sunday, Gio Reyna started off the bench and was subbed in the 66th minute to help Dortmund get a 3-1 win over Bochum in the Bundesliga. And look, Marco Reus and Brandt were not available, and Paredes decided to change Dortmund's formation with 2 players up top instead of starting Gio Reyna, which obviously was not working throughout the match because Terzic is a muppet. Then, eventually, he sent in Gio Reyna for Moukoko, changing the formation to having 1 player up top rather than 2, and at that time, the match was still 1-1. With Gio central and the formation back to what we expected it to be for Dortmund earlier in the game, Borussia Dortmund started to look a lot better, which led to a 3-1 win. So it wasn't Gio that completely changed the game. I thought Giovanni Reyna was good when he came in, very good on the ball, very technical, very ball secure too, and very press resistant. However, it was the formation change because Terzic messed up earlier in the game because he does everything in his power to not start Giovanni Reyna. And understand that this might have been the last time we see Gio Reyna with a Borussia Dortmund jersey. Maybe. There's no way scouts watch him play and don't think he is worth the risk. And by risk, I mean due to his injuries. I don't think anyone doubts or questions his talent. The transfer window closes this Thursday, so a lot can happen, but the front runners to get Gio Reyna seem to be, based off reports, Nottingham Forest, Olympique Marseille from France, Sevilla from La Liga, or he'll stay with Dortmund till the summer. So I'm not going to speculate on which one of these teams he should go to. I have a slight preference for Sevilla, but none of them are great options. Sevilla has not been great last season despite winning the Europa League, and they're doing terrible this season. Nottingham Forest is not a good fit, and Olympique Marseille is just an unstable club. So I don't really love any of these options, and I'll talk about it if he gets the move. We'll break down the club and talk about it. In the meantime, let's just wait and see what happens with Gio. We'll know by Thursday, but he might have said goodbye to Dortmund. Next up is Brandon Aronson from Union Berlin. On Sunday, Aronson started off the bench and was subbed in the 83rd minute for Union Berlin during their 1-0 win over Darmstadt. Now we have John Brooks from Hoffenheim and Leonard Maloney from Heidenheim because they clashed over the weekend. On Saturday, Brooks started and went the full 90 minutes for Hoffenheim during their 1-1 draw with Heidenheim. Now back to the players. Maloney started and went the full 90 minutes for Heidenheim. The goal that Hoffenheim conceded was mostly on John Brooks. He looked lost and confused during a 1-2 from the opponent. Then he failed to recover as the striker went on to a 1v1 with his goalkeeper. And I don't know, man. I personally think John Brooks is a good player, but very often we see these silly mistakes from him. It's almost like he tunes out and is too slow to recover after he has tuned out. He's still the most technical center back that we have, but there are moments where he has the attention span of a 5-year-old while defending, and this was one of the cases. And the recovery speed of Tactical Manager. I'm not joking. He's kind of slow. Now we have Joe Scally and Pifok that play for Borussia Mönchengladbach. On Saturday, Scally and Pifok both started for Gladbach during their 0-0 draw with Bayer Leverkusen. Scally played the full 90 minutes while Pifok played 79 minutes. Joe Scally played as a center back in a back three, and this was actually the first time this season that Leverkusen, that currently leads the Bundesliga, was held scoreless. Scally and Gladbach's defense were extremely busy throughout the match, and yes, they were a bit lucky to hold on to this 0-0 draw. But still, it's quite an accomplishment to hold a 0-0 draw against this Bayer Leverkusen side that has been fantastic this season under Xabi Alonso. Next on the list, we have Kevin Paredes from Wolfsburg. On Saturday, Kevin Paredes started and played the full 90 minutes for Wolfsburg during their 1-1 draw with Cologne in the Bundesliga. This was actually the first time he played the full 90 minutes in the Bundesliga, so he lost his full 90 minutes virginity this weekend in Germany. But not just that, Paredes scored for Wolfsburg with a nice finish off a low cross. He almost had a brace in this match, he worked very hard, was very physical, and didn't really get bullied at all. What I'm trying to say is I thought this was a very encouraging performance from Paredes, and hopefully it has earned him more starts. Last but not least in the Bundesliga, we have Paxton Aronson, and he didn't even make the bench for Eintracht Frankfurt once again, and he is personally a player that I think needs a loan this winter. So this week he needs to get a move. He's been there for 12 months and we've seen like no progress. He needs to go somewhere that he plays. He's not playing at all. And they signed Donny van de Beek, which just reduced his minutes even more, as if that was even possible. Now, if you made it this far in the video, drop a like right now, and I have a quick question announcement for you. It was brought to our attention here at Tactical Manager TV that maybe we should start a Patreon. But the thing is, me and Dustin have talked about this multiple times and we still don't know how to go about it. We do not want to, and we will not put any of our content behind the paywall. We don't want to do that with Patreon. However, we have an idea. We are thinking of doing a Patreon where part of the revenue goes to Tactical Manager TV and part of it goes back to the members. We want to reinvest it with jersey giveaways, jerseys that might be tough for you to access, like the retro jerseys I can get, maybe signed jerseys, along with maybe spending some of that money on meetups, pick up soccer at US men's national team matches where all of us can meet up, watch games together, multiple other things, and even ticket giveaways, experiences. We don't know how to go about it, and it obviously depends on how many people sign up, but we're open to ideas, and we would like to know if you guys would join in that. And if enough people say they will, and they give us good ideas, we will start it and kind of just go with the flow. If that's the case, we'll start the Patreon very soon. We're still planning it out, but me and Dustin, the channel producer, we just want to hear your thoughts. So put that in the comment section if you would join, if you have any suggestions and all of that. Okay? Thank you. Now let's go to the Americans that play in Spain in La Liga. The first one being Luca de la Torre from Celta de Vigo. And on Sunday, Luca de la Torre started and played 66 minutes for Celta de Vigo during their 1-0 loss to Girona in La Liga. Celta de Vigo are currently only 1 point clear of the relegation zone. Next in Spain, we have Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis. And on Saturday, Johnny started for the second consecutive match for Real Betis and played the full 90 minutes during their 1-0 win over Mallorca. Another great performance from Johnny. He looked very comfortable on the ball, but he's still sitting very deep in possession and mainly responsible for protecting that back line, which he does very well. He is tremendous defensively. And keep in mind, I had this game on alongside the Milan match, so I might have missed a play here and there, but I'm pretty good at watching 2 matches at the same time. I do that every weekend. Sometimes I try to watch 3 at the same time, especially when these matches start 15 minutes apart. That helps quite a bit. Johnny was great with his positioning, interceptions, rather than constantly going for tackles. I believe the goal scored from Real Betis started after a Johnny interception, if my memory does not fail me. He also won all 5 of his aerial duels. He won 3 out of 5 ground duels, had 10 defensive actions, 5 recoveries, 5 clearances, 2 interceptions. He's one of the main reasons why they held a clean sheet. And I'm going to add the fact that, honestly, from what I've seen, Mallorca played better than Real Betis and was creating more goal-scoring opportunities. There was also a moment where I thought that Johnny was going to get sent off, as he did even injure the opponent during the play, but he got pushed into the player. So it wasn't really his fault, and obviously the ref agreed with that. Johnny Cardoso arrived at Real Betis mid-season, right now in January, and has quickly become, or is becoming, a starter for them, and that says a lot about how many were underrating him when he played in Brazil. We'll see if he can lock in that starting job the next few weeks, but I'll just finish it by saying that he's off to a great start. And with Guido Rodriguez injured, William Carvalho just not being very good, and Marc Roca, I believe, is also injured, Guardado going back to Spain, sorry, not to Spain, going back to Mexico to retire, Johnny might actually be a locked-in starter for Real Betis. Now let's leave Spain and go to France to talk about the Americans that play in France. The first one being Florentin Balogun, and he wasn't available for Monaco this weekend because he's dealing with a minor shoulder injury. He shouldn't miss much time, but he wasn't available to play this weekend. So let's talk about another American that actually has been scoring in France, and his name is Emmanuel Sabi, the winger from Le Havre FC. I think that's how you say it, Le Havre. Or Havre. On Sunday, Sabi started and scored off a penalty kick for Le Havre during their 3-3 draw with Lorient in Ligue 1. He played 57 minutes for them this match. We're done with the top 5 leagues. Now let's go to the Americans that play in the Netherlands in the Eredivisie. Why don't we start the ones that play for PSV, which are Malik Tillman, Serginho Dest, or Destinho, which is, I'm probably going to start calling him Destinho, and Ricardo Pepi. On Saturday, Dest started and played the full 90 minutes for PSV during their 2-0 win over Almere. Dest got the assist for the first goal as he delivered the cross for De Jong to score. Dest has honestly been making it look very easy at the Eredivisie, and he's on a loan from Barcelona. With Xavi announcing that he will leave Barcelona at the end of the season, there is a small possibility that Dest could be back with Barcelona next season. Even though I don't think that'll happen, and I'm still not sure that Dest is the Barcelona level. Does he have the technique and ability to play for Barcelona? I think so. Does he have the mental and defensive capabilities of playing for Barcelona? I am 99% sure he does not at the moment, so I don't think that'll happen. But I'm just saying, with Xavi leaving and him having a very good loan for PSV, he could be back with Barcelona next season. As for Malik Tillman, he was not available for PSV this match due to a minor injury. He's also not expected to miss much time. Ricardo Pepi came off the bench in the last few minutes of this match when PSV was already up 2-0. I think he played around 5 minutes only. There's not much to comment on that. Still in the Netherlands, we have Taylor Booth from Utrecht. And on Saturday, Taylor started and played 66 minutes for Utrecht during their 1-1 draw with Excelsior. Now let's leave the Netherlands and go back to that island in Europe called the United Kingdom. Let's go to that. And we'll start with the Americans that play in the 2nd division of England. The first one being Josh Sargent from Norwich. And on Sunday, Sargent was rested by David Wagner in Norwich's FA Cup match. They're still being extra cautious with him ever since he returned from injury, which makes sense, and I'm totally okay with it. Now we have an American that came back from injury, and his name is Haji Wright from Coventry. On Friday, Haji Wright was back from injury, and he started off the bench and was subbed in at the 73rd minute for Coventry during their 1-1 draw with Sheffield Wednesday in the FA Cup. The other American we had in England was Daryl Dike from West Brom, but he wasn't available for West Brom this weekend because he had a minor calf injury. So injuries continue to be an issue with Daryl Dike. So let's skip on Dike, go to Scotland to talk about an American that plays for Celtic in Scotland. That's why we're going to Scotland. And his name is Cameron Carter-Vickers, the US men's national team center back. And on Saturday, Carter-Vickers started and played 64 minutes for Celtic during their 1-0 win over Ross County. It was also announced this week that he renewed his contract with Celtic till 2029. Before we talk quickly about the Americans in Liga MX, the Mexican league, I want to skim through some Americans that play for some more obscure leagues like the Belgium League, the Italian second division, whatever. Because I won't be covering the Serie B, which is the second division of Italy, Belgium, or any obscure leagues that Americans play for in this episode. Some other episodes, I'll dive into it a bit more. But this weekend, Gianluca Busio scored the game winner for Venezia in Italy in the second division to get them the 1-0 win. Rokas Pukstas also scored this weekend in the Croatian League. And the US men's national team prospect, Gabriel Sonina, the goalkeeper, got a clean sheet for Eupen in Belgium. It's more like I just wanted to give these players, Busio, Slonina, and Rokas Pukstas, a shout out. That's what I did. But other weekends, I'll give you a better coverage. Last but not least, we have the Americans that play in Mexico in Liga MX. After all, if you're an American playing in Mexico, you are an American abroad. And why don't we start with Alejandro Zendejas from Club America? On Saturday, Zendejas started and played 64 minutes for Club America during their 0-0 draw with Necaxa. Damn it. I'm fluent in Portuguese, but I really struggle with my Spanish. So let's skip on that. You get the point. Zendejas played. That's what matters. Next up, we have Cade Cowell from Chivas Guadalajara. And on Friday, Cade Cowell started off the bench and was subbed in at halftime during Chivas' 1-1 draw with Tijuana. And there were people saying that Cade Cowell got a dummy assist. And listen, dummy, that's not a dummy assist. I watched that play multiple times, and I apologize if I called anyone a dummy right there, but it just seemed like he was confused in the box, and then Alvarado was just there to finish. It didn't really seem like it was intentional what Cade Cowell did in the box. I could be wrong, but that's what I saw, and a few other people agreed with me when I said that for that specific goal that Chivas Guadalajara scored. With that said, let's skip that, and let's talk about Brandon Vasquez that plays for Monterrey. And on Saturday, Brandon Vasquez started and played the full 90 minutes for Monterrey during their 3-1 win over Atlético San Luis. Brandon Vasquez had a brace during this match. He scored 2 goals, and the first one was a beautiful header from long range, an incredible goal. He has 2 starts for Monterrey this season, and he scored 3 goals already. MLS and Liga MX are roughly the same level, with a slight advantage to Liga MX due to their top clubs, and Vasquez joined one of the top clubs. So I expect him to do very well in Mexico. And he's off to a fantastic start. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like before you go. And let us know your thoughts on the Patreon idea, where we want to invest more in this soccer community that we're building. We can have a Discord. We can have meetups, giveaways, and much more. I want to thank you all very much for watching, and have a great day.